Hello everybody and welcome to today's vlog. Just to let you know, today's vlog is sponsored by Workhos, this beautiful little clip-on torch. I unboxed it about 5 days ago and I swear to God it hasn't left my side since. But I'll get on to more of that later. So today we're doing about Raf Lindholme and all of the plane incidents in 1942. We've already done 1940 if you want to go back and have a look on my playlist. There were 5 deaths in and around Raf Lindholme in 1940. In 1941 there were 8. So our total so far is up to 13. However, come 1942 that doubles, and in 1942 there are 15 deaths which I will go through today. Now these are deaths from air incidents. One of the things I have to tell you as well, unfortunately, after going through some of the station log orbs, there are actually quite a few more deaths, like accidents on the runways and things like that, which I will go through at the end. And probably, then there's so many of them, I may do an air incidents death, then do the rest of the deaths, to be able to conclude the series, to let you know how many serving men so far. I've not come across any women yet, but serving men have died in and around Raf Lindholme. Now, the first plane that went down was on the night of the 13th, 14th of March. So I have a theory about this. We are in the middle of the peat, which is very, very well known, right next to the peat moors. It was only in July 1942 that they got the concrete perimeter track and also the concrete plane dispersals. I've got a feeling that was because the airfield was so boggy and so horrible to be able to get these big vehicles and planes moving around, that it just became absolutely impossible for them to do so during the winter months. So they probably had to wait till about March for it to be safe. Now the evidence that I have for this, obviously no physical evidence, but I am from a farming background and I see farmers around here all of the time, and a lot of them in the fields around here don't use tyres, they use cat tracks. So taking all the evidence that I can gather into consideration, I think the first incident in March is purely weather related. But if anyone knows any different, I would love to hear from you. Another thing that I'm going to do today, I am not going to read off. I've got so much to rattle through. Look at the size of that pack. I am not going to say the names of the crew. I'm going to put that on the screen like I did before. Most of them are Polish anyway, so I will butcher their beautiful Polish names, which I don't want to do. So I'll go through the actual planes, the accidents, the incidents, horseflies, and then I'll put on the screen during the edit exactly who was on the planes. Right, let's get started. So the first one is Wellington Z8438 at Lindholme Airfield. I have done a separate video on this. If you go on my playlists, Raf Lindholme and Hatfield Moors, there is a full video on this plane crash. But just to give you the briefing, on the night of the 13th and 14th of March 1942, this 305 Squadron aircraft was hit by flak on an operational flight to bomb Cologne. And on the return to Lindholme, the aircraft overshot and struck a building belonging to the airfield's rifle range. The resulting crash caused the aircraft to catch fire, and although 2 men were pulled clear, 1 died later in Doncaster Hospital. In a total, 5 Polish airmen died as a result of this accident. Awful situation to happen. Do check out the playlist for the full story. No wind today, so this is actually quite easy with the paperwork. Wellington 5550 caught fire in the air, landed at Lindholme Airfield. During the second half of March 1942, this aircraft is listed in the 305 Squadron Orb as having sustained damage following starboard engine fire in the air on ops. The date is after the 13th, 14th of March 1942. I have no further details to add at the time of creating this web page. which brings me on beautifully to the fact that this is not my research. This is from Yorkshire Aircraft, and my friend Rich has put all of the information together from the National Archives. He's documented every single air incident in Yorkshire, and I've taken all of the ones referring to Raf Lindholme. Next is one that will be appearing on my Raf Lindholme page, but I haven't got around to filming it yet, and that is Wellington Z8586 near Root in Lincolnshire. On the night of the 14th, 15th of April 1942, this 305 Squadron aircraft flown on an operational flight to bomb Dortmund. In the early hours of the morning and on the return leg, the fuel level began to get critical. The pilot attempted to reach Lindholme Airfield, where the crew were based, instead of landing earlier or ordering the crew to bail out. 8 miles from Lindholme, and while flying at 2,500 feet, both engines cut out. The crew stayed with the aircraft, and the second pilot attempted a forced landing around 2 miles short of the airfield. This landing was made in a field near Root, but it struck a mound in the field which saw the aircraft break its back. 2 members of the crew were killed in the crash. Root is in Lincolnshire, and this aircraft almost certainly crashed in Lincolnshire. I've left this on the website for clarity. Sergeant Pishek's death was registered in Thorn, Yorkshire. So in that last one, 2 members of the crew were unfortunately killed, which is awful. And I'm just getting on now to Wellington 5566 at Lindholme Airfield. The flies on the moors tonight are incredible, and I've completely topped up with jungle formula. On the night of the 17th and 18th of April 1942, the crew of this 305 Squadron aircraft were tasked with flying an operational flight to bomb Hamburg, but dropped their bombs in the area of Tillerschelling because of engine trouble. They were forced to fly the return leg on only one engine, and while attempting to overshoot Lindholme Airfield, the aircraft collided with Wellington Z8519, which was parked on the ground at Lindholme Airfield at 03:30 hours. 5 of the Polish crew in W5566 were slightly injured, and the tail gunner escaped any injury. The aircraft was deemed beyond repair. Wellington Z8519 at Lindholme Airfield. On the 18th of April 1942, this 305 Squadron aircraft was parked at Lindholme Airfield when it was struck by Wellington W5566, the previous one, which was attempting to overshoot with one good engine. No crew were on board. Wellington Z8399, and this is at Doncaster Airfield, and I've added this in because there weren't many incidents at Doncaster Airfield, and as the crow flies, it's only 2 miles away, and the starting base was at Lindholme. So on the night of the 17th and 18th of April 1942, this 305 Squadron aircraft was tasked with flying an operational flight to bomb Hamburg and took off from Lindholme at 23:24 hours. This crew released their 4,000-pound bomb from 8,000 feet over the old town, causing a very large explosion. During the course of the flight, this aircraft was attacked by a night fighter and was also damaged by flak. Due to the early return of Wellington W5566 that crash landed at Lindholme 2 hours earlier, other 305 Squadron aircraft appear to have been diverted to Doncaster Airfield to land. Wellington Z8399 crashed on landing at Doncaster at 05:22 hours. While the unit orb states that there were no injuries, there is a casualty file, AIR 821, in the National Archives that state that the last named were injured. Again, all names you should be able to see on your screen now. The big story. This is Wellington R1697, and this is the one with the tail damage that I've used as the front cover for the 1942 year. On the 25th of April 1942, this 304 Squadron aircraft was attacked at 16,500 feet by an ME-110 while the crew were undertaking an operational flight to Rostock. The attack injured both the captain and the rear gunner, with the latter being seriously injured in his right arm. The bomb load was jettisoned over Flensburg at 01:10 hours, and the crew made for home. The aircraft had gone out of control for a time after the attack, and although the pilot, oh, I've got things crawling on me, oh, all over me actually. And while the pilot was able to regain control, it had sustained damage to the rear gunner's intercom, and the hydraulics were put out of action, and an oil tank was holed. The pilots brought the aircraft home to Lindholme Airfield, where upon one of the undercarriage legs collapsed. Upon landing, it was found that the rear gunner was very seriously injured, and he was admitted to Doncaster Hospital. The photo shown shows the damaged aircraft. This is the exact aircraft that was damaged in the flight. So, on with the next. We are about halfway through now, so I just want to take this time to be able to tell you about the beautiful workhorse torch. If you watched my recent video where we were abandoned on these moors in a thunderstorm, just before that I did a full unboxing. But today I just want to take you through some of the characteristics of it, because it is genuinely one of the best things I have ever used. And I'm not just saying that. Here at willmxkid we wouldn't promote anything at all unless it actually fitted in with our lifestyle, which this little torch, trust me, does. So it's a really cute, I think it's made out of something very strong. Oh, I've turned it on by accident. It comes with a paracord, so you can use it as a lanyard. It's also got a clip. The clip in itself is magnetic, so if you're working on a car, it sticks to the underneath of the car bonnet, which is absolutely brilliant. Or like me, walking around, just have it on the clip like that, which I find fantastic. Now, it's as easy as this. 1 for beam, off. 2, you get red. 2 again, you get red flashing. 2 again, even bigger, like a strobe. You can get different coloured strobes as well, which is great. And again, you get a solid colour. Now, how good is this when you're trying to get attention? If you're out maybe hiking, or you're wanting to be seen by somebody, you're not quite sure which colour will work best to be able to get people's attention. This has got the full spectrum. And there, I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up, it's doing its little rainbow dance. Not only that, the best feature for me, turning it off again, is if you press it 3 times, it strobes. It's also got an inbuilt SOS setting. So 1, 2, 3, strobe, 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1, 2, 3. It does, honestly. It's just not doing it for me. Oh, that's super bright. Oh, no, that's doing the SOS. So if you leave it on like that, it will do the SOS setting to make sure that you are looked out for. How good's that? That is amazing. Anyway, thank you Workhorse for sending us this beautiful little gadget. We think it's awesome, and I cannot tell you, it hasn't left my side in about 5 days, and I love it. So back on it pops. Next we have Wellington N2899, possibly at Lindholme Airfield. Stated as being on the 7th of May 1942, this aircraft is believed to have caught fire and burnt on the ground while it was being refuelled, probably at Lindholme Airfield, and it was deemed too badly damaged to warrant a repair. There were no crew involved. Another plane crash that I've done a full video for, R1073. This is at the site where the Polish memorial is, which is dedicated to W5557. That is the wrong plane. The plane that's there is R1073. If you want to see the history of it, go to my playlist. It's all there. On the 11th of June 1942, the crew of this 25 OTU aircraft were to carry out basic circuits and landings exercises at Lindholme Airfield and took off from Finningley at 1300 hours. Before any of the proposed landings could be made, the aircraft went out of control and dived into the ground just east of Canberra Cottage Farm, close to Lindholme's boundary at 13:15 hours. Both men on board were sadly killed. Next is a Hampton, which actually took off from RAF Cottesmore. So this is Hampton AD848 between Moor Ends and Thorn. Unfortunately, on this plane again there are lots of casualties. I'll put their names up. On the 29th of June 1942, this 14 OTU aircraft struck the ground between Moor Ends and Thorn at a vertical angle of 23:43 hours, while its crew were undertaking a night cross-country training exercise. Sadly, all in the aircraft were killed, and as the cause of the accident was never established, this incident may well be the one referred to on the website www.memoriesofbygonemoorends.com, which states the aircraft crashed between the winning post and the social club, though gives the aircraft as being a Wellington. Unfortunately, local history does do that a lot, because there were Wellingtons based here. If enough people say it enough times, myth becomes fact, just like with where the Polish memorial is. So that's another reason why I'm trying to document everything to prove exactly what happened and where. So there is a one reference for all research, and anybody that wants to do any research can come here. And William's just pointing out to me, because we are on the old railway, that there are some of the old railway tracks from the Peat Railway. How cool are they? There's only a few bits left remaining, but when you come across it, it's awesome to see. Lots of history. Lancaster R5743 at Lindholme Airfield. Just before midday on the 18th of November 1942, this 83 squadron took off from Whiten to undertake a training flight. 50 minutes into the flight, and with a strong wind and in poor visibility, the pilot attempted a landing at Lindholme at 12:28 hours, but overshot and ran into the boundary hedge, causing a Cat B damage. The pilot was said to have been to blame for the incident. If the visibility became poor, his order was to have been returned to Scampton, and also did not obtain RT permission to land at Lindholme. Next is a Halifax BB202 at Lindholme Airfield. On the 25th of November 1942, the 1656 Heavy Conversion Unit aircraft was flown on a training flight. On landing at Lindholme Airfield at 15:30 hours, the tyre on the tail wheel burst. On inspection, it was found that the tail wheel assembly had distorted. Again, crew will be put on the screen. Bloody flies are driving me mad! So this is a plane I've never heard of before. This is a Defiant N3513 at Lindholme Airfield. On the 29th of November 1942, this 1481 bomber gunnery flight aircraft landed at Lindholme Airfield at 12:20 hours, and while taxiing, the pilot inadvertently raised the undercarriage instead of the flaps. The aircraft received minor damage. Lancaster W4264 at Lindholme Airfield. On the 3rd of December 1942, the 1656 Heavy Conversion Unit aircraft was having a daily inspection carried out when a fracture in the tail wheel mount was found. The damage probably occurred following a heavy landing on an earlier date. The names of the crew are unknown. Halifax V9983 at Lindholme Airfield. On the 10th of December 1942, the 1656 Heavy Conversion Unit aircraft was used on a dual instruction training flight with an instructor and a pupil pilot. On landing at Lindholme after a 30-minute flight at 10:45 hours, the aircraft bounced and the nose rose higher than the tail. The tail of the aircraft then landed first, and the tail oleo collapsed. Next, it's Lancaster ED317 at Lindholme Airfield. On the 13th of December 1942, this 1656 Heavy Conversion Unit aircraft was being flown on a night circuit flying exercise at Lindholme Airfield. At 23:05 hours and 10 minutes into the flight, the pilot was attempting to land at Lindholme in heavy rain and poor visibility. I can believe that. As he could not see out of the front windows, he opened the side window to attempt to fly, looking out of it. Once over the runway, he held off the ground for too long, and eventually he made a landing which resulted in one or probably both undercarriage legs collapsing. Repairable damage resulted. One member of the crew was slightly injured and sustained leg injuries. He was admitted to Lindholme's sick quarters. Next is Halifax W1011 near Lindholme Airfield. During the morning of the 13th of December 1942, the crew of the 1656 Heavy Conversion Unit aircraft undertook a dual flying exercise. The trainee pilot gave a supine in multi-tape interview to the IWM, I'm guessing that's Imperial War Museum, in which he went into details about this incident. Prior to taking off, the instructor informed the pupil pilot what exercise was to entail. It would involve climbing to 3,000 feet and then to feather an engine and then to practice flying on 3 engines. As the aircraft climbed away, it got to 2,500 feet, the port outer engine. The engine was then feathered. Instead of continuing with the training exercise, the instructor ordered the trainee pilot to abandon the exercise and return to the base of Lindholme Airfield. On their approach to land and while flying at 400 feet, the port inner engine then failed, causing the aircraft to yaw to port. The instructor told them not to land but to overshoot, so the undercarriage was raised and they attempted to climb away on 2 good starboard engines. He managed to get around 600 feet before losing height. At 10:43 hours, the aircraft then clipped trees and crashed into the peat wetlands that formed a large area to the eastern side of Lindholme Airfield. This exact spot. While the aircraft caught fire on crashing, all on board escaped injury. The trainee pilot then recounted that they began to walk towards a farm about a mile away. This suggests that the aircraft crashed in the central part of the peatlands, but which farm is unknown. With the aircraft continuing to burn, the fire engine from Lindholme Airfield was sent to the site, but in an attempt to reach the burning aircraft, it fell through a bridge while crossing a dike. An ambulance was also sent to collect the crew, and with them on board, the driver then immediately drove into a dike. That's not a good day for anybody, is it? So they're flying the plane, they're doing a mission, they're told to turn an engine off, then told to abandon the mission. They try and land, can't land, everything comes down, they put it back up again, they end up in the peat bog, the fire engine then ends up in a dike, they get rescued by an ambulance and the ambulance ends up in a dike. Not a day to put your lottery numbers on, that one, is it? Flipping heck. Lancaster ED-324, damaged in the air, landed at Lindholme Airfield. On the 15th of December 1942, the crew of this 1656 Heavy Conversion Unit aircraft took off from Lindholme at 10:45 hours. During the flight, at 1400 hours, the aircraft was in a collision with a tree and the aircraft was slightly damaged around one of the port outer engines. The pilot remained in control and landed safely at Lindholme. The pilot was subsequently charged with a low-flying offence. He underwent a court-martial on the 15th of January 1943, the details of which are shown on the Australian National Archives website. He was found guilty and was reduced in rank. Can you see that fly? A fly has just literally walked across my camera. How very rude. And lastly, for 1942, we have Halifax R9380 at Lindholme Airfield. During the afternoon of the 15th of December 1942, the crew of this 1656 Heavy Conversion Unit aircraft undertook a training flight lasting 2 hours. On landing at Lindholme, the aircraft began to taxi around the airfield. At 16:45, an aircrew transport bus came close to the airfield but stopped. The aircraft did not stop in time and the port outer propeller struck the bus. A Cat A FA damage resulted. Thank you so much for watching. Gosh, sorry I've been flicking about. I've been eaten alive out here tonight by the mosquitoes. So sadly now, deaths in and around Lindholme, we are up to 28, which is just unbelievable. But I mean, it was war, so unfortunately, yes, believable. We will go on. There are a few more years yet to do, as well as the deaths that resulted just on the airfield as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this content, please hit the like button to this video and do press subscribe. It's completely free to do so. If you press the subscribe button, there are little bells at the side. If you click on the little bells, it will update you and let you know every time I upload. If you want to become a member of the channel, please do so. I put out exclusive content for everybody at least a couple of times a month, which nobody else gets to see. It is just for members only. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next week. Take care. Bye bye. So William, did you like that vlog today?
Yeah.
And what do you do now?